If you're in the market for a premium all-electric long-range sports sedan, it's pretty hard to beat the Tesla Model 3. This vehicle has been the best-selling electric vehicle in the US and across the world for years. In fact, I actually owned one for 2 years. It made me a huge believer in all-electric cars. However, what if you like the Model 3, but you don't want to drive a Tesla because everybody has been driving a Tesla lately? Well, that's where a viable alternative like this comes into play. This is the 2022 Polestar 2. It's built off of a Volvo architecture because Volvo is the parent company. And just like the Model 3, it's offered in a 4-door sedan configuration, which is technically a hatchback. It starts around $46,000, offers up to 265 miles of range. And if you guys go for the dual motor version with the performance package, you should be getting to 60 in around 4 seconds. So if you guys are looking for a premium all-electric sports sedan that's built by a legacy manufacturer, how does the brand new 2022 Polestar 2 stack up? Stay tuned to find out. So being that this is an all-electric sports sedan, the million-dollar question, of course, with a lot of EV enthusiasts is, does this vehicle have a frunk? Well, thankfully, you will not be disappointed because Polestar seems to have listened to what EV buyers want. And this particular one here does have a small frunk, which is a little bigger than its sister car that I last tested, which was the Volvo XC40. Now, as you can see, I like the way that Polestar has finished off the trunk. It's really nicely well integrated, and you can also fit roughly 1.6 cubic feet of stuff. That's not really a lot of space. I think the Teslas offer a little bit more room. If you lift this up, you can see there's your fix-a-flat kit, or you can also access the front tow hook. This has basically space to put some of your leftover takeout food, or you can put the mobile charger in here. But roughly, let's talk about the powertrain because we're underneath the hood. All Polestars are, of course, all electric. There's a new front-wheel drive single motor version for 2022. That is not the version that I have here. Instead, I have the dual motor, which has two electric motors, one at the front, one at the back, that gives you all-wheel drive. Each motor roughly makes 204 horsepower. Combined, they make 408 horsepower and 487 pound-feet of torque. That's roughly 6 more horsepower versus its sister vehicle, the Volvo XC40 Recharge, and this vehicle weighs in at around 4,600, 4,700 pounds, so it's a little bit lighter than the XC40. Now, performance is pretty impressive. Polestar says you'll get to 60 in around 4.45 seconds. It probably will end up being a little bit quicker than that in my real-world testing, which we'll talk about when we go onto the road. And it all goes out through a single-speed reduction gear transmission. So it's a 1-speed transmission. That's pretty much the norm here with these all-electric cars. Now, range, of course, that's the million-dollar question. This particular one here will go a maximum of 249 miles. The front-wheel drive version, the single motor, will do about 265. Polestar did improve the range by about 16 miles this year, and they did that through software changes where they made the motors a little bit more efficient. We are still using a 78 kilowatt-hour battery pack, so roughly the same size battery pack as a Model 3. And in terms of charging, this will charge at 11 kilowatts on its onboard charger, which will basically allow you to fully charge this vehicle overnight on a level 2 in about 8 hours. Or you can also DC fast charge this vehicle at 155 kilowatts up to that, and where you can roughly go from 10 to 80% in about 30 minutes. So very impressive range figures, and the performance is very impressive as well. When you shut the hood and look at the styling of the Polestar 2, you can see this is a very, very attractive vehicle. I especially like this particular one that I'm showing you. It's basically a fully loaded version. It's got the performance package, it's got the plus package, it's got the pilot package. It's painted in this shade of midnight, which is a dark blue color. I do wish that Polestar offered like a little bit more brighter colors on this vehicle, or how about a really nice green to go with the fact that this is an electric car. But you can see the front end is very Volvo-esque. You have, of course, the signature Thor's hammer full LED, which Polestar even puts a badge there in the headlights that says Pixel technology. These are LED low and high beams. It's got adaptive headlights, auto high beams, LED turn signals. You even get these fog lights here when you guys go for the plus package, and the grille, as you can see, is pretty unique looking. I like the Polestar badge. A lot of people look at this badge and they don't know what it is, although if you stare at it from certain angles, you can probably tell, if you're an enthusiast or at least a Volvo enthusiast, that this is a Volvo. Remember, this is built off of the CMA, compact modular architecture. This is the same platform that underpins the XC40. So technically, this platform is built to accommodate an internal combustion engine. It has been heavily modified, of course, to accommodate the fact that this is all electric. Now, having the performance package means that you have these gorgeous 20-inch wheels with this kind of machined black finish. And the performance package includes Olen Dampers, which allow you to adjust them manually. If you get underneath here, you have 22 different settings. You also get these Brembo brakes with the gold calipers, gold painted calipers, and you have the gold valve stem caps, which again makes this vehicle stand out in a very good way. In terms of the ground clearance, this is a sedan, but it kind of almost looks like a raised sedan. You have roughly 5.9 inches of ground clearance, which isn't a lot. Remember, this vehicle is all-wheel drive, and its overall length at around 180.8 inches long is about 7.1 inches longer versus the XC40. So this is technically the bigger vehicle. It rides on a similar sized wheelbase. I also like the silhouette. You can see the Plus package includes this all-glass panoramic roof, which doesn't actually open, but it lets in a lot of light. And I also like how Polestar has blacked out a lot of the chrome accents that you typically find on some other vehicles. Now looking at the rear, you can see the design is pretty distinctive looking. The LED taillights do a distinctive sequential dance, which is nice. You have LED turn signals, you have this full light bar that goes across, you have the Polestar badge, which is body colored, which is really interesting looking. And then down here you can see nicely integrated parking sensors. You have a black plastic area there, which looks pretty invisible in this darker blue exterior color. And then the cool thing about the Polestar too, it looks like a sedan, but it's actually a hatchback. So you push this little button here, it's got a power lift gate, which is nice. And then when you open up the lift gate area, you get roughly 16 cubic feet of space. That's matching that of most sedans. And because it's electric, you have this nifty little divider that pops up in the floor, and you also have some nice underfloor storage, which you can see will easily house the mobile charger, or you can also put it in the front. No spare tire in this vehicle, and you can also drop down those seats and you can expand the cargo area to about 38 cubic feet of space. So this is more practical versus a Tesla Model 3, but not quite as practical as Volvo's XC40 Recharge or a Tesla Model Y. The charge port is also right here on the driver's side toward the rear. You can see it comes with a standard J1772 plug, and for those of you who want a DC fast charge, it comes standard with the combo CCS adapter, which will allow you to DC fast charge this vehicle at up to 155 kilowatts. So when it comes time to get in and drive your Polestar 2, let's first talk about actually getting into the vehicle. Just like a Tesla, Polestar does offer a phone as a key feature, and they also offer an activity key. I don't have the activity key on me, but the activity key is kind of like what Jaguar and Land Rover do. It's designed to get wet. It's a lot smaller. Or you can also use the standard key fob, which looks a lot like a Volvo key, although they put a lot cheaper plastics on it. The Volvo key will wrap it in the same kind of leather material. You can see there's the Polestar badge. The buttons are on the side. This key fob is a little bit larger than I would like it to be, and I don't like how it's not covered in the same leather material. Now, when you open the door, it's got, as you can see, conventional door handles. I kind of wish Polestar had done something a little bit more special. What I do like, however, is the design of the side mirrors. You can see very, very thin border around the actual glass. Opening up the cabin or the door, you can see the interior of my particular tester has this charcoal, basically black, Weave Tex recycled material. This is made from recycled materials. This interior is roughly what you get on this high option version. If you guys want real cowhide, Polestar does offer it because for about $4,000 you can get real blonde Napa leather, which is a really nice leather with ventilated seats. These seats are heated and they offer a 2-person memory feature. But again, spend $4,000 if you guys want the real leather. This is the vegan option for those of you who would prefer not to have real leather. The door panel, you can see, has this interesting textured material, which is slightly padded. You have an aluminum door handle here. I like the speaker covers here. This has the 13-speaker Harman Kardon stereo, which sounds good. And you can see a lot of the switch gears and controls come from a Volvo, because remember, this is their parent company. The seats adjust in like 12 different ways. They don't offer any massage or ventilation on this model here, but you can get the ventilation, like I said, if you guys go for the upgraded Napa leather. Now, getting inside, this vehicle has a traditional sedan step-in height, so those of you who were hoping it'd feel more like an SUV, I'm sorry to say, probably go for the XC40 Recharge if you want that. As I shut the door has a nice solid sounding thunk, so that gives me a great impression of quality, which is something that you don't typically get, of course, with a Tesla. Now, just like a Tesla, as you get into this car and sit your butt into the seat, there's no start-stop knob or button here. Instead, the car just uses a sensor in the seat, and it senses the key or your phone or the activity key in here. And as I put my foot on the brake and put the vehicle into gear, that's what turns everything on. And you can hear there's the Polestar chime, which is pretty similar to the last Volvo that I was in. And overall, it's a pretty nice looking cabin. The one thing that you're going to notice right away is the all digital display. You have a 12.3 inch digital display here, and you have an 11.2 inch digital display here, which is a touchscreen. This is their new Google based operating system. It's an entirely Android based operating system, which if you guys have an Android or a Google account, you can essentially sign in, and it's designed to be an extension, not even an extension of your phone. It's designed to pair up or be a separate phone for you when you load up all your contacts and whatnot. Currently, right now, this does not have Apple CarPlay, which will be wireless. It also doesn't have satellite radio. Polestar promises it'll be in an over-the-air update that's coming by the end of this year. They're saying fall 2021. Still, sadly, don't have it. So because I don't have CarPlay or I don't have satellite radio, there's AM and FM, and then there's the Bluetooth media, which you can still pair your phone via Bluetooth and pair all your music to whatnot. There's 2 USB-C charging ports here, which I like the way this looks. There's a wireless phone charger pad right there, which barely fits my iPhone 12 Pro Max. And then you can see the map interface is Google Maps. This is all very easy to use, very similar to the last XC40 Recharge that I drove. There's even a dedicated home button down here. If you push that or tap that right there where that little white line is, it takes you back to the home screen. Now, of course, going over and looking at the rest of the home screen features, you can see pushing the car icon there will allow you to change your drive mode functions. You can change the steering feel, put the stability control into a sport mode, and activate and deactivate your one-pedal drive and the creep function. Going over here, you can also adjust the driver assistance function. You can adjust the charge. Polestar allows you to put a maximum level for the charge, and then go to more here. It shows you all your different sources and adjustments, whatnot. It's all very nice looking. This actually looks a lot better versus the XC40 Recharge that I drove like a month ago. I like the way this looks. Tapping this icon here shows you all your different apps, and it allows you to go to your settings page where you can adjust all your different settings and whatnot. This also includes over-the-air updates. So it's a really nice system. It's snappy, it's responsive. You also have voice commands where you can say, "Hey Google," and it'll hear that. Find me the nearest Starbucks. Which again, works pretty well there.
Results for it'll hear that find me the nearest Starbucks.
It works actually better than the Volvo XC40 Recharge. So this is great. If you guys are really a big fan of Android and Google, you're going to feel at home here. I just wish that it already had CarPlay, wireless CarPlay integrated into the system. Now, over here on this screen, you can see you can put the map display in this screen, which again, looks pretty good. This is what it looks like if you don't have the map display. It shows you your digital speedo. It shows you your battery power indicator. I'm at 79%. And unlike the Volvo, it has a range distance to empty meter, 180 miles of range. I love how Polestar's doing that. I don't know why the XC40 does not have that. This is all logical information. Unlike a Tesla, you have a nice instrument panel here right behind the steering wheel. Now, speaking of the steering wheel, you can see it's wrapped in leather. It's got nice stitching. It's a tilt telescoping, which is manual. Offers a lot of adjustability. You have a lot of buttons here for your controls. The horn sounds very typical of the size of this vehicle, so it's a nice satisfying horn. The vents you can see very similar to the last Volvo products, although these vents here are a little too high and they don't really blow air toward my face very well. So again, that's something a little bit of a nitpick. The wood trim in here looks really nice. This is a matte finish gray wood. It's also on the dash. You have more of that fabric-like material on the dashboard. This is a soft touch injection molded plastic, which has the same texturized, almost recycled material finish as you get on the door panels. Nice headliner on the actual headline, or on the roof or ceiling of this vehicle. And the seats, you can see similar design to a lot of Volvos. It's nicely padded. Don't like the weave text. It feels like cheap cloth. Would probably go for the leather. This shifter here is interesting. When you basically, it works like the shifters in the T8 Volvos. You have to push all the way forward to go to drive, kick it back to go to, or to reverse, kick it back to go to drive, and then push the P button here. I like how this is a really interesting design where it's see-through, or it goes right through. There's a pass-through. There's also a really cool Polestar badge that lights up. When you put the vehicle into reverse, you can see there's your backup camera. It offers a full 360 camera. It takes up the entire screen, which looks good. Like the way the camera looks, the resolution is good, so can't really complain there. Polestar is doing a great job with that tech department once they, again, give us that wireless Apple CarPlay and satellite radio. A volume knob over here where you have quick access to your hazards, your front and rear defogger. There's a little bit of storage on this side, and there's also a little storage on this side, but you only get one cup holder here. The other cup holder is in the center console, which is a little stupid location for it. So this design here does compromise space. This also slides forward to give you a better armrest. I don't like the material in here. It just feels kind of cheap and scratchy. Not my cup of tea. Above me, you can see big glass roof. There's no retractable sunshade, which I wish it had that, but it is very dark tinted. This is part of the Plus package. This also doesn't open, but it's very nice to look at. It's all, again, very well finished, beautiful LED lighting in the cabin. There's even LED lighting, of course, in the mirrors. And then looking at the glove compartment, you can see it's a bin style. It's damped, not lined with felt, but it is a very big glove compartment. So that makes up for the lack of storage space in the center console. So overall, interior definitely has a Scandinavian, Swedish finish to it. I like all the recycled materials. I like the large screens. Once they add Apple CarPlay, it'll definitely be one of my favorite interiors in the segment, and it just has a very modern, easy to use feel. Now, unlike the Polestar 1, which was only offered as a coupe, the Polestar 2 is only offered as a four-door, which means you do have a much more practical vehicle here. And in terms of the rear seat legroom, it's pretty class competitive to its main competitor, the Tesla Model 3. Now you can see opening up the back door, the door I'm noticing doesn't open up quite as large as I'd like it to, but Polestar says you get roughly 33.4 inches of legroom back here, or 33.9, I'm sorry, so just under 34 inches of legroom. I love how these gold seatbelts are again carried over because this has the performance package. The Weave Tex interior still isn't my favorite. Same material at the back here, but as I get in, you do have to duck your head a little bit because of this low roof line, but when I get in and shut the door, you can see legroom space is okay. At 34 inches at 5'7", I am relatively comfortable back here. You also have two map pockets on both sides. You have rear seat air vents. You have heated rear seats with 3 levels and your own set of 2 USB-C charging ports, which is nice. Materials are all pretty much the same as the front. I like the speaker grille covers with the Harman Kardon stereo. And then you also have this little armrest here that folds down and gives you 2 cup holders. So again, this is pretty comparable to the last Model 3 that I had, my own, in terms of space, but just know that there are other electric vehicles that give you a smidge more rear seat legroom. So after having owned a Tesla Model 3 Performance for 2 years, I am just really happy to be driving a true competitor to the Model 3. I've driven something that competes with the Model Y, like the Volvo XC40 and the Mustang Mach-E, and maybe even the Volkswagen ID4, but I haven't had a chance to drive the Polestar 2, and Polestar, or Volvo, they've been busy trying to increase the appeal of this car. They've made a lower horsepower, less expensive single motor front drive version available. But the all-wheel drive with the performance package, this is it blurs the line between a Model 3 Performance and a Model 3 dual motor long range. So let's go ahead and test out the 0 to 60 here and see what I can get. Ooh. Wow, 0 to 60 in 4.19 seconds. Polestar says 4.4 seconds, so not surprised that this is a little faster. The beauty about EVs is when you put your foot down, there's just instantaneous thrust. This is even quicker than the XC40 Recharge, which it doesn't surprise me. This car has slightly more horsepower. It's a little bit lighter, even though it's a bigger vehicle. It just feels really good, and with the all-wheel drive system, it just has all this grip. Now, I haven't had a chance to drive the single motor front drive version of this car yet. I'm hoping Polestar will send me that later on, but let's go ahead and I want to do another 0 to 60. I want to see if I can consistently get that number here. Oh God, there's so much power. All right, I got 4.34 seconds there, and that was a little bit better start there. So I'm gonna take the 4.3 second number. It's a very impressive time. This car is fast, and it just has power for days instantaneously. It just makes me giggle, just like my Model 3 Performance did. Now, it is not quite as fast as the Tesla. The Tesla will probably do it maybe a second faster than this car, but it is quicker than a dual motor long range non-performance version of the Model 3. And this one here having the performance package with the Olen Dampers, the Brembo front brakes, the steering where you can adjust the steering feel. I have it in its firm setting now. It's still a little too light for my taste, even in firm. But you get a sense that this car feels like a sports sedan. The Model 3 does as well, but there's something about this car that feels good. Now, the Olen Dampers, you can adjust them in 22 different variations. You have to get underneath the car and adjust them manually by hand, which seems a little archaic, but I believe it's a characteristic of Olen Dampers. But in terms of the ride quality, I've read some people complain that it's a firm ride. If you're used to the firm ride quality in a Model 3 Performance, this is going to feel pretty similar in terms of the ride comfort. These summer Continental tires, these summer tires, are a little noisy. They do have plenty of grip, though. They stick really well to the road. And in terms of just the overall quality feel of this vehicle, I definitely get it. There's not a squeak or a rattle anywhere. This interior also feels really interesting. It feels very modern, the same way that the Tesla does, but it has also a sense of build quality in here. What I don't like, however, are these WeTech seats. These are like a recycled material, and they just feel kind of like a cheap, scratchy cloth. For $4,000, Volvo will give you a nice, beautiful blonde-colored Napa leather with ventilated seats. I'd probably go for that as opposed to this. I mean, this is probably better for all you vegans because this is the vegan option, but I just prefer my, $67,000 luxury vehicle that's electric to have a slightly nicer feel to the cabin. And this is just a little too dark for my taste, so I'd probably go for that. In terms of the visibility, the view out of the back is terrible. That rear view window is just awfully small. So the Model 3 gives you better visibility there, but oh God, this thing is so fast, so bloody fast. And I love the one pedal drive feature. It's very similar to Tesla. If I lift my foot off the accelerator here, the car basically will come to a stop almost a full stop. And it works really well. You can adjust that, of course. There's an off setting here. I'll go into off setting. It just cruises like any other car. There's a low setting, which gives you a little bit of regen braking, and then the standard gives you a lot of regen braking. I think up to 3G or 0.3 Gs of regen braking, which is impressive. And unlike the Volvo XC40 Recharge that I tested a month ago, the instrument panel here is a little bit more customizable. You can put the GPS there, which is nice, but it actually shows me a range indicator. I like that. Like, it shows me my percentage in the battery, and it also shows me how much range. When they dropped it off, it had 85% battery charge. Right now it has 80. So again, it's very close to being fully charged. The performance is very impressive. The seats are also comfortable, but I don't like the cloth material, this weave text material, but they are comfortable. That's a very Volvo-esque, feel. Is supposed to have comfortable seats. Although, again, this is a Polestar. There's not a single, Volvo badge in here. Even the doors or the window glass has Polestar badges, in addition to everywhere else around the car. I'll never get tired of that. Ooh, so much torque. I mean, almost 500 pound-feet of torque and 408 horsepower. Wow. I mean, could Volvo or Polestar, I'm sorry, I keep saying Volvo, could Polestar do an even faster version? Sure, they could give us an extra 100 horsepower. They could put us in Model 3 performance territory. Would I like them to do that? Absolutely. But this, right off the bat, is going to be plenty of acceleration and performance for the majority, like 95% of people. Even most enthusiasts are going to love this as a daily driver. And in terms of the range, they say 249 miles, 250 miles. I got roughly that mileage in the XC40 Recharge. And in this car, I got pretty close to that number as well. You could probably do better if you put this car, or you drive it a little more economically. You aren't quite as aggressive on the throttle as I am, which is just intoxicating, so I can't help but be a little more aggressive on the throttle. It does have a little bit less range, of course, than the Model 3, although I will say that my Model 3, I'm not entirely sure if Tesla's improved that in the most recent 2021 models, got right around 270 miles in the real world. This does about 250 miles in the real world, so it's really not that much different. My tester also has a heat pump, which is very important for those of you who live in those cold weather climates. In terms of driver assistance tech, this one here has the Pilot package, which is optional. It's $3,200. It includes Volvo's driver assistance features, or Polestar's driver assistance features. It has their Pro Pilot Assist system. It does a pretty good job. It doesn't change lanes for you though, but it does actively keep you in the lanes. It has blind spot monitoring, cross traffic alert. It's got all of the usual stuff, but it is optional. Although those of you who have like the launch edition models, you're gonna have that as standard equipment. So there's really little that I can complain about this car other than the fact that Polestar just doesn't have any brand recognition. I mean, I drove this car for just a couple days and it didn't really turn as many heads as I thought it was going to. Maybe because it just looks like a regular Volvo on the outside, but people see the badge. When they do see the badge, they're like, what the hell is that thing? I have to explain them, oh, it's Polestar, it's Volvo's electric performance division, which it's always been their performance division, and now they want to make it electric instead, which is an interesting idea. Just because we can, I want to floor it again from a stop. Yeah. And that's the beauty about electric cars. So if you're looking for a credible Model 3 alternative that's a sedan, that's also a liftback, because remember, you've got the advantage, this being a hatchback, this is the one that should be belonging at the top of your list. And keep in mind, Polestar is adding more Polestar spaces this year. They're hoping to have 30 spaces around the country. So this is definitely a unicorn. If you want to stand out, if you don't want to drive something that everyone else has, which you see so many Model 3s out on the road, buy this instead. So after spending the last couple of days with the brand new 2022 Polestar 2, here are my final thoughts on the vehicle. First of all, it's a wonderful, credible alternative to a Tesla Model 3 that happens to have way better build quality, but it also has that futuristic modern feel and it has incredible performance. 0 to 60 in around 4.3 seconds is very nice. It does roughly 250 miles on a full charge, which is pretty similar to what you'll get in the real world for a Tesla Model 3. And my gripes with the Polestar 2 are few and far between. The back seats a little bit tight. I don't like some of the recycled materials in the interior, which feel a little bit cheap, which you can rectify by adding the full Nappa leather. And the infotainment system needs wireless Apple CarPlay. They should have launched it with wireless CarPlay. It's still coming by the end of this year, but again, Polestar is playing catch up there, and it's probably pissing off a lot of early owners. I know it would piss me off, the fact that this does not have that feature yet. But overall, it has more cargo space than the Model 3. It kind of splits the difference between a Model 3 and a Model Y, especially if you guys don't want to drive that ugly Model Y. You like the shape and the style of a sedan a lot more. This is a really, really great alternative that also has lots of fast charging available. There's lots of charging stations available because Electrify America and other stations are seriously building their network up. Really what it comes down to with the Polestar 2 is the price. This is more expensive than a Tesla Model 3. The base front-wheel drive single motor version starts at around $46,000 plus destination. Add about $3,000 if you guys want the dual motor all-wheel drive version, which starts at just under $50,000. My tester, of course, here with the Plus package, the Pilot package, and the Performance package, and the extra cost for the color stickers at around $68,000. $68,000 makes this roughly $10,000 more than a Model 3 Performance, and it doesn't go quite as far, and it isn't quite as fast. So on paper, it's not going to look great. However, if you want something that's not a Tesla and you favor more build quality from a legacy auto manufacturer and you want something that's different, I would easily put this at the top of your list, especially once Polestar eventually adds the wireless Apple CarPlay feature. And also keep in mind, this vehicle does qualify for the $7,500 tax credit, which you still cannot get on a Tesla as of this filming. So that does help to lower the bottom line of this car, and it should put it right around the same price range as a Tesla Model 3. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2022 Polestar 2 with the Performance package. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.